All right. So, morning, Hamish. So, obviously, number one draft pick coming up. Any call at this stage with early announcement?
Hello, Brett. How are you? Not at this stage for a couple of reasons. One, I wouldn't be able to tell you yet because we haven't had our meeting with the coach, the CEO, the GM and the footy director, and that's going to happen this morning. So we're going to outline our plan, the work we've done over the last year, 2 years, and heavily the last 2 or 3 weeks. So we're going to outline to them in about an hour and a half where we're at, what we've planned. So I can't tell you guys yet because I haven't told the coach. So the guys have done a power of work, which has been amazing given the tricky year that it's been. So we're going to outline our plans to those people this morning. And there's still a little bit more information. The medicals have been a little bit tricky because of the non-normal year we've had, given the doctors, etc., haven't been able to actually lay their hands on the players. So the doctors finished now compiling all the medical information, but we just didn't want to make a final decision until we had that medical information in case there was an issue. I don't expect there's going to be any problems, but just from a due diligence and compliance point of view, we wanted to make sure that we had all that medical information. There was an additional medical done in South Australia last week, late last week, so we're just waiting on that information to be compiled.
Hey, Hamish, just quickly, just before we jump into the next one, Britt, sorry, if you can just make sure you square up to your screen on the left, that's better, mate. That might just give us a better shot. Thanks, buddy. Sorry, Britt.
Oh, no, all good. Thank you. So, Hamish, you're talking a bit about the meetings and things you'll have today. Are you able to tell us or give us a little bit of an insight about what you'll be talking through?
I will present the 4 players at pick 1 to the list management committee this morning, the pros and cons, the strengths of those kids, their weapons, family history, all those things. So we'll present that and then we'll move through the rest of the draft this morning. That'll probably take about 2.5 hours. We'll show some vision. Some of those guys have been busy with other things, so they won't have seen the vision, and that's okay because that's not their job. We'll show them that this morning. We've poured all over it all and done all the analytics, and the team have been amazing. Given the year that we've had, I can't thank our recruiting team enough for the hard work they've done.
Will the player find out before the draft pick?
Probably not, because I'm pretty sure the AFL wouldn't want us to spoil their night and ruin the surprise for whoever it is. So I don't think so. And given the system the way it is now, I mean, it's probably unlikely a pick swap could come, but there's still been discussion about trading yesterday. Obviously, we finished yesterday afternoon with pick trading, but trading on the night, we've had some discussions with the clubs about some pick movement. So in the old system, you might have been able to tell the player, but now, given there is some chance that you could move picks, we probably can't do that.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you. Is that something that you're still then considering?
Probably less likely with pick 1. The odds of that moving are probably less likely, but you never want to say never in case a great deal comes up. But certainly the other picks that we've got, they're great picks, and obviously we plan for that, but there is some chance that they could still move.
Beautiful. Thank you.
No worries, Brett.
Max at 10.
Just trying to find my mute button. There we are. Howdy, Hamish. Can you talk us through, for the fans, I suppose, the easy thing for them to say is, well, why wouldn't they bid on the best kid in the draft this, even if you might be tied to the Bulldogs? Can you talk us through, I don't know what you're planning on doing, but why you might not do that? Like, what would be the reasons not to bid on what is seen as the best kid in the draft?
G'day, Max. Well, it's a serious consideration. So clearly Jamara's in the 4 players that we're discussing. We're going to present to the coach and list management this morning. So we'll have those discussions and we'll stay pretty true to our talent order, as we've always said. So it's definitely a serious consideration, as Nixie said the other day. So we'll have those discussions. We'll explain Jamara as we will the other players in that top 4 and the pros and cons and the way we see it and the way it could unfold. So that'll be a discussion we have today.
With the Dogs clearly having enough points to match a bid, if you went for him at 1, is there a thinking in your mind that you pick the kid that you're going to get, and you make him he's the number one. You're the one we always wanted. Is that how it works inside your room?
Not really, Max. No, we'll just treat the players on their merits as if they were all in the open draft. I mean, there's other boys that are NGA and father-son players as the draft goes on. So we treat them all on their merits. I think history shows that we've been prepared to bid on players we like. We loved Harry Himmelberg and we bid on him. Perryman, we bid on him. Would have loved to have bid on Harris Andrews. We probably should have even gone a bit higher on that one in that year. So we'll just treat them all the same, line them up in our talent order, have those discussions, present all the information to list management, and we'll see where it falls.
And just broadly speaking, from a talent perspective, comparing this year's draft to next year's, we've seen a few moves among other clubs that suggest they're, just trying to get a little bit more of a foothold in next year's draft if they're not so well placed like you guys are this year. Can you compare the drafts, even though one's still 12 months away?
Every draft's different, Max. Like I go back to some of the drafts with Nick Natanui and Sean McKernan and Phil Davis. That was a tools draft. This year there appears to be more tools in the draft. Maybe the tools are a little bit underexposed for next year. There looks to be some good South Australians in next year's draft. We've tried to position into next year's draft, and we might still try and do a bit more of that on draft night, is try and get into next year's draft. Yep, we like it, but there's great players in every draft, so we'll find some terrific players for the Crows supporters to enjoy watching over the next 10 to 12 years, hopefully.
Last one from me. There's a kid who looks like he's going down the road, Lockie Jones. Is there sort of any scope that Crows fans can have a little showdown win at the draft over the Port fans?
Oh, I don't think so, but he's certainly high up in our talent order. We rate him highly. He's a terrific lad and a really good player, so Port will be very pleased to get a player of that quality. I doubt we would do it at pick 9, but perhaps a bit later on. But the gap's probably too big. I would think he falls somewhere between 9 and 15, 16, somewhere around there. But he's a terrific lad and a great player, and Port are going to get a beauty.
Thanks, Angus.
Will, at Channel 9.
G'day, Hamish. Thanks for chatting, mate. Just firstly from me, mate, you mentioned there's kind of 4 players in the running for that number 1 spot that you've got. Have you personally, even if you can't disclaim who it is, have you got a clear thought in your mind who the best talent is?
There's not much splitting them. I've got my opinions and thoughts, but we work it out as a group. The guys have been locked in a room for 2 weeks together, so it wouldn't be fair for me to just enforce my opinion. So we do it as a team, work it out together, and then we'll discuss it. So, yeah, I've got a thought as to which way we're going to go, but I'm certainly not going to tell you yet.
No, totally understandable, mate. Just on the broader side of things, how much pressure is there, do you feel, to get the pick right, given obviously the history with the Crows? They've kind of never been in this position before and historically have been pretty good at the draft. But is there a certain amount of pressure on you and the team to hit a home run with this pick?
Oh, I don't know. I guess as you're in the industry longer and you think about life and all the other things that happen, there's people that have been under a lot more pressure than us this year, given what they've gone through. And, there's people now going through some terrible things. So that's probably real life pressure. You know what? The game doesn't know what pick you are. When you go out and line up on Jack Rewald or Joel Selwood or Paddy Dangerfield, he doesn't care if you pick 1 or pick 100. They're going to fight you for the ball. So a very smart man once said to me, the game doesn't know what pick you are. So no more pressure, really. I mean, every draft pick is important, whether it's pick 50 or pick 5. You want to try and get pick 50. You want to get Rory Laird as a rookie to play 200 games. So not necessarily. Given the year we've had, is it a bit easier to probably up the top? Yes, because those guys have got pretty good exposed form. We've got pick 1. Sort of hope we don't have it. We have it for a reason, because we finished down the bottom. We've got a lot of work to do. So it's a big pick. It's important, but the game doesn't know what pick you are.
And Hamish, there's a lot of outside noise, obviously, on Thilthorpe being a local kid and, some of the other boys being from interstate, and that added pressure, I guess, to go with the hometown boy. How much is that talked about, inside the walls of the club? No,
not really. I mean, it's the Australian Footy League. So you've just got to take the best player wherever they come from. Clearly, if it's close. At times, we've said before and we've shown that we'll go the local, but look, there's a lot of data and a lot of information. We'll put them in our talent order. Yes, we consider South Australian, but some of the other boys have got family in South Australia. They've got mates that they've grown up with and played different sports with that are local. So there's a whole heap of factors that come in. Some guys are just ready for the adventure. Doesn't matter where they come from. Maybe their situation's been difficult or bad, or they need a change, or they want to go somewhere else, or they're really up for the adventure. So we treat every player differently. We weigh up all the information we've got, and we consider the local. We always have, but we can't be just pinned down to that.
Excellent, mate. Thanks. And just one last one quickly. Just as far as James Borlase and Newchurch sit, I guess just where's the club sitting on that, kind of probably with this being the last time we might hear from you before the actual draft?
I wish it was the last time, but I think there's probably some more media that we've got to do over the next 2 or 3 days, and I guess that comes with having early picks. So we've had fantastic dialogue with those boys, their families and their management, and we're really, really proud and pleased of the work that they've done in our NGA. Jared Mears has done a fantastic job with those boys and some of the other NGA boys that are going to end up being great sample players, or perhaps end up at another club. And, it's a great tick for the program that we've got those NGA boys in the mix. So it wouldn't be fair to go out and say what those discussions we've had, other than to say that the talks we've had with their family, their management and the players have been fantastic. They're really clear on where we sit, and we're just wrapped for the work they've done, and it's a great tick for our NGA program.
Excellent, mate. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Anna from AAP.
Yeah, hi, Hamish. Just going back to Jamara, we know that the pick one gets that, there's a sign in my background. I think it's 10 grand plus another 20 in terms of NAB incentives and those. Well, those come into it. If you bid on a player, the Bulldogs match it. It just, it's extra incentives that pick one. Is there any factor there?
I'm sure anyone who gets picked in the top 5 or 6 is going to be pretty well looked after financially. They've gone from no money to a fair bit of money. So their pocket money just increased by being a first-round selection, so that won't come into our considerations at all.
And you mentioned there's that top 4. You've also got pick 9 as well. I guess where do you see the difference between that sort of pick 5 and 9? Can you sort of, throw something over that group of players, or is it a clear sort of skew of players in that group up to your next pick?
You broke up a bit, but I think I've got the gist of the question. So for us, it looks like a sort of the top 6 separate, and then there's another group of about 8 players that are really, really even. Some boys with tremendous upside in that group, and a little bit of mixture of different types. So, I think if there was 25 players on a list, I think most clubs at that part of draft would have the same 15 players, I would imagine, given the chats we've had with other clubs during the trading period. So it looks like sort of 6, and then another group of some terrific young lads that might carry us through to sort of pick 15, and then on into the draft. Obviously, we might be out reasonably early with our 2 picks in the 20s, but they're very good picks, those 2 picks in the 20s, and traditionally clubs have come for those early second-round picks. Even in the past, there was a gap to the next day, but on Wednesday it'll all be done on one night. So they're 2 pretty valuable picks, and we're still open to moving those.
Just the last one for me. So, with that sort of pick 9 and onwards, is it just become best available, or is it needs? Or
no, I think at that stage it's best available. We always want to try and balance out your list and have a good mix, but I think we can probably do that with our next 2 picks, so it's probably best available at that point.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Matt Turner from The Advertiser.
Hey, Hamish, how you going? I just wondered, further to Will's question, I just wondered, are you expecting bids on your academy guys?
I don't know. I can't comment, Matt, on what the other teams are going to do. So, look, there's some other teams with academy players, so we know those guys have probably got to get their own players in at some stage, whether that's in the national or the rookies. So, and given there's probably not going to be 70 picks in this draft, there's probably going to be somewhere between 45 and 55 picks. So, I can't comment on what the other clubs are going to do, but our 2 boys have, clear information from us as to where they sit, and we've had great discussions with them and their parents and their management. So we'll see how it plays out.
You were able to reveal before that Jamara was one of the four. I just wondered, are you able to reveal that Thilthorpe, Hollands and McDonald are the other three?
Well, I note, Matt, you've done an extensive statistical analysis with only 2 players. Perhaps you should have thrown another 2 in there. We might get you a job in our analytics department.
What do you see? You mentioned before about those later picks addressing areas of need. What do you see as areas of the biggest areas of need on the list?
Given we've sort of been to the last 2 or 3 drafts reasonably heavily and brought some young blokes, and we've got quite a good stock of young players on our list now. And Nick's been fantastic with giving. I've got to pay tribute to him. When things were a bit tough, he just kept playing the young blokes and giving them opportunity. So that was a great thing for him to do, and he showed great strength to do that. So, look, we're where we are, Matt, and we need to get up quickly. So, we're all types. Look, yeah, we'd love to add some more speed to the group, but there's a good mix of players in sort of the top 20, top 25 where we're going to pick. So we're not pinned down to a particular type. We need lots of different types and lots of great characters and players to come in. So we'll just try and add as many good ones as we can.
And just one sort of projecting forward a little bit, what did you make of the changes to the NGA rules from 2021 and 2022?
Yeah, clearly we've got the rules, but given how busy we've been with this draft, and we obviously had to focus on our own NGA boys and get them ready and speak to them, that's something we'll really look at heavily in the new year. We've got some NGA boys again for next year. Again, as I said before, it's a tribute to Mizzy, the work he's done with the NGA boys, that we've got some NGA boys that we've been able to help. They've been in our program for a long time. We're really pleased with their progress. So that's something we'll weigh up probably in early January.
And just lastly for me, you mentioned before about the medical information, just as a general rule, not specific to those players, but how much does the medical information get taken into account or get weighed up in a decision?
It does. I mean, from a due diligence and compliance point of view, we have to do it. So our doctor and physio and our medical guys, the amount of work they put into it, the volume of work and information they compile and then simplify it for us. It's a lot about, Matt, if we pick the player, what they're going to do when he gets there. We're aware of X, Y and Z. He'll need this when he gets to the club, and they give us advice. Very rarely in the 15 years I've been doing this is a player ruled out medically. I mean, the boys are in pretty good condition and their state league clubs and NAB league clubs have looked after them really well. So there's generally a good body of information for the doctors and physios to go on. But this year's just been so tricky without them actually being able to see the player, have to do it electronically, rely on the medical reporting coming from the AFL. So it's been a bit difficult for everyone. Very rarely are they ruled out, but we just need to know that. And then once the doctor gives it the tick, we can put them in our order and get ready for when they come to the club. So it's as much about what they're going to need from a training and physical performance point of view when they get there as well.
Thanks. That's it from me. Happy to pass it around.
Thanks, mate.
Anyone there from Fox Sports, Sky News? Clear recording it, guys, but if no one pops up, has anyone got any other questions I want to throw back at Hamish?
I've just got one, mate. 9 here again. Just kind of on behalf, Channel 7 was saying their audio was stuffed up, but Hazy just wanted me to ask Hamish, what's the biggest need for the club? Do you need one of these tall players that's in the draft, or do you kind of need a midfielder? What do you feel like the biggest need is?
We need to get the 4 or 5 picks right. We need to bring in different types. So there's not one pressing need. I mean, we have brought in some young players over the last few years with a cross-section of positions. You know, Mackenzie can play forward or back. McHenry and Jones can play a variety of positions. Hamill plays back and he gave us some speed. So there's not one pressing need. We need to add another year of really good young people and characters that can help us go forward and get back to where we want to be quickly.
Perfect. Thank you, mate.
Can I just add one Max again, Hamish. Logistically, the changes of the draft this year for you guys, not all being in a big room together, how's that playing out for you?
Well, we're still working through it, Max. So there'll be people in South Australia, and obviously all our recruiting team are based in Melbourne. So there'll GM, CEO, footy manager will be in Adelaide, and the coach, and the recruiting team, and we'll get Sloaney to come in and give us a hand, and some other staff in Melbourne will be in the Melbourne office. So from a digital and IT point of view, that's way out of my depth. So I'll let those experts organise that. But yes, it's different. Fingers crossed we don't have an internet crash or something like that. But that logistical planning sort of going on at the moment. It'll be different. But given we sort of, even though we already had last year with the IT-based drafting system, I'd imagine it'll be similar, but it'll be all done from our Melbourne office with crosses to Adelaide. And obviously the players won't be, the top 20 players won't be in the same room. So that'll be a little bit different. They'll obviously be at their home base. So that's probably logistically difficult for the media to work through. But I'm sure the AFL put it all together pretty well, as they usually do.
Sloaney taking a bit of an interest in the whole process, or is he just there to, shake some hands and make phone calls when they get there?
No, he certainly welcomes the boys really well when he gets there, but no, he takes an interest, as do a lot of our players. Tommy Lynch rings about every 2 or 3 days to offer advice on who we should pick, what he's seen. So now the players are really involved, and because of the amount of video and information out there, they really love it. They thrive on the draft. They want to know who their new teammates are going to be, how they can help them. It's a big thing Nixie's been big on, is prioritising others, and clearly those boys, Matt Crouch is going to come in as well. They just want to get the new guys in and help them as much as they can, because they know in time those young players are going to help them.
That's strange to see the players that you have doing the sort of research and looking into it and wanting to be there on draft night?
No, not really. It's always been the case, really. There's always those boys that take a great interest in the draft. They love the NFL draft and the NBA draft. But no, I think back to Sam Jacobs has always been involved in the draft. He's always offered advice. If there's been ruckman in a draft, he's usually watched the vision of them and given his feedback. So our senior players have always been heavily involved. And then you find the 1, 2, 3-year players, they know some of these boys. So sometimes you can actually seek out your own players to get some information as well, because, Will Hamill may have played against some of these boys in the past, or he knows them.
Sorry for one more. Are there stories in years gone by? I find it quite interesting. Are stories in years gone by where a player on draft night or in the lead up has tipped you in a direction of someone else because of what they've seen?
Yes, there has been, and often it is the players are the best recruiters. So we might ask Will Hamill about his teammates at Dandenong in his interview in his draft year and say, how would you rate these blokes? If you could bring one teammate with you from Dandenong, Will, who would you bring? Now, often they'll say their best mate, but the really, really clever ones will give you some detailed information. So that's another piece of the puzzle. We often ask the players, you're in the South Australian state team, who that you didn't know impressed you, and you get some good information that way as well. And, you like to try and build a list with some blokes that are going to get on, look after each other, help each other. So those things all come into it.
Beauty. Thank you.
All good, guys. Everyone got what they need?
I might just jump in once more, if that's okay. You mentioned before the great work of your recruiting team this year, and obviously a strange old year, Hamish. I just wondered, how did COVID actually change how you guys scouted players this year, particularly the Victorian guys?
Clearly, given we're at, we always knew our selections were going to be, low in the draft. So that helped narrow the focus a little bit. You probably, rather than assess 70 players, you can probably assess 30 heavily. The vision out of South Australia was fantastic, the live stream. So, in effect, on a Saturday, a footy day in South Australia and West Australia, we're actually watching more games than we would have live because of the quality of the vision and the vision coming through. So we did way, way more vision. I love going to the footy. I love sitting on the wing and watching the game and tracking the player and see how he's going. But obviously we had to do it from vision. The Victorian boys, it's perhaps a little bit easier for us because we knew roughly by halfway through the season where our picks were going to be, and we traded into obviously one first round pick, the GWS pick at pick 9. So we could narrow our focus. So the main Victorian boys that we were considering, some of those are the best player at 12, they're the best player at 16, and you know what, they're still the best player at 18. So the body of work on some of those Victorian boys was already significant. So that was okay. That helped. And then we did just poured over vision, live streams on a Saturday and a Sunday, and then poured over vision more. I'd rather be at the footy watching, but that's what we were confronted with, so that's what we did.